Welcome back to Cord Cutting Today, where we break down some of the biggest stories happening in the world of cord cutting, including change your passwords. It's very important. You need to be changing your passwords. I'll tell you why here, but I would change it on almost everything out there. I'll explain in a minute. Also, Spectrum is saying the recent internet outage in California was domestic terrorism. We'll break that down, let you know what's happening. And Pluto TV teams up with 50 Cent. These stories and a whole lot more coming up in a quick second. First though, if you want to learn more about any of the stories I'm about to talk about, check out the show notes and in the first pinned comment. I'll put a link to each story I talk about so you can read them for yourself and come up with your own opinions. I'd love to hear from you. If you're new here, consider hitting that subscribe button or hitting that thumbs up. Doing one or both lets YouTube know you enjoy what we do here, so they recommend our videos to more people, and hopefully we can help you break free from the high cost of TV and still watch the shows you enjoy. All right, let's dive into it. 16 billion with a B passwords have leaked online. Now, this is from a wide range of websites and services that have been compromised. Why do you need to change your password? Well, even if you don't, even if, let's say, your bank hasn't been compromised, if you use that same password on other sites, it's possible one of those has been broken. And then they're going to try those usernames and passwords on multiple services, including bank accounts, but also on streaming services. There's actually a big push for many years to sell access to streaming services at discounted rates. This has been something being cracked down on pretty widespread, but still happens. And what they do is they hope to find, maybe you sign up for some random online web forum because you wanted to leave a comment on some post or some story or something, and then that gets compromised, but you had the same password used for YouTube TV or Disney Plus or Hulu with the same username, and then they go use that. Highly recommend you change passwords. Don't be reusing passwords, especially don't reuse passwords for bank accounts in particular. But I would say that for all paid services out there with it. Highly encourage you to change your password. It's really not a question of have you been compromised, but how many times and when will the next one be? So take advantage of it. We have some recommendations in our story down below on how to avoid it, but use unique passwords, change your passwords immediately right now too with that. All right, let's keep moving along. Spectrum recently had a massive outage out in California. And this ended up being because what they call domestic terrorism, somebody deliberately cut a fiber line. Now, there was some speculation. There's been a lot of copper thieves cutting lines, and occasionally they think it's a copper line. They cut one and it ends up being a fiber data line. They try to steal a bunch of the copper and then sell it for scrap to get some money. That's been a big problem across the country. But this one cut off 2,600 individual fiber customers, causing widespread outages, and it also impacted U.S. military base, emergency dispatchers, and 911 service in California. And Spectrum has come out and said that they consider this to be domestic terrorism. They think it was deliberately cut to cut service to that area with it. They're offering a $25,000 reward, the parent company of Spectrum, which is Charter Communications, for anyone with information for this. It's the continued question of, hey, how vulnerable are we with some of this, knowing where to go and what lines to cut, allowing them to cut off internet service in this case for thousands of customers out there. Leave me a comment, let me know if you've ever been impacted with this. We've seen it pretty widespread with people cutting lines for fiber across the country in order to steal it. I think it was West Virginia, the cable company came out and replaced all the copper lines that were impacted, and within like a day or two they were stolen again. It's very hard to stop that with there, but we'll keep an eye on this. But Spectrum is looking to crack down on it and make some examples of these people. There was a similar major outage like this in Texas not that long ago. All right, Pluto TV is teaming up with 50 Cent to bring his 50 Cent action channel to Pluto TV. If you're a Pluto TV customer, you'll be able to get this. It has a wide range of action-related content curated by 50 Cent. Pluto TV's been slowly adding more and more channels. It's now July 1st. I bet we'll see quite a few added in July. Pluto TV has a history, though, of not announcing them until they're live, and even sometimes then really not making a big deal of the new channels. But Pluto TV now adding more channels to its free streaming service. All right, you ready to feel a little bit old this week? All right, 34 years ago this week, Terminator 2 Judgment Day premiered. I gotta know, are you a Terminator 2 fan? Yes or no? I know the later films became quite controversial. Some people liking them, some people not. But let me know. Terminator 2, did you like it? First premiered July 1st, 1991 at the AMC Century 14 Theater in California. The movie went on to be very successful, helping establish the Terminator as a franchise, just not a one-off movie, which today is ballooned into TV shows, movies, video games, and a whole lot more with it. The film's $102 million budget was very well surpassed, bringing in over $520 million worldwide, making it one of the highest grossing films of the highest, grossing film of 1991. All right, deal alert. Prime Day is next week, which is now like a 4-day event. It's a Prime week almost. We'll have full coverage, but there's some early Prime Day deals on Amazon if you're a Prime member, including the Fire TV Cube, the current newest model, on sale for $89.99, down from $109 with that, or it's $119, whatever the list price is on it. If I remember right, this is a $50 savings. Check it out. This ties the lowest price ever, which was last year Prime Day. We'll watch it closely. Fire TVs are on sale across the board, with the Max also on sale for $34.99. Link in the show notes for these deals. If you've been thinking about getting a new Fire TV, these are pretty good deals. I can't promise you they won't beat them next week. I'll be a little shocked if they do, because this is a pretty good deal here. Do me a favor though. Follow us on Facebook, follow us on social media, sign up for our newsletter over at cordcuttersnews.com or in the show notes on this. We'll have a lot of cord cutting related deals next week. Appreciate your support, but check it out. Make sure to keep an eye on our website. I'll be breaking all the best deals for cord cutters out there. All right, about a week ago I talked about how Paul Harvey's Rest of the Story hit a major milestone with it. And I mentioned how I absolutely love listening to Paul Harvey, the Rest of the Story, his noon news, his morning report, and more. And a reader pointed out that, hey, Paul Harvey's back on the radio in many parts of the country, including where I live. Now, I live at kind of the edge where I can hear it, but every morning as I go into the office at 8:30, I can now hear Paul Harvey, the Rest of the Story. I did a little digging. Turns out, yes, for the last few years, Paul Harvey, the Rest of the Story, has been returning to local radio stations across the country. Now, I struggled a little bit. I reached out to the family's official website, tried to get information, who takes care of this and what stations have it. Nowhere I could find online had a complete list, but I did find multiple radio stations now offer Paul Harvey's The Rest of the Story. I know a little non-cord cutting, but hey, it's something I love, so sometimes I cover things I love. Check your local radio stations in your area, but I wish the website, they do have an official Paul Harvey website with some information about him. Sadly, though, no listing of what radio stations now offer it. I'm not sure if this is ABC offering it or not. And honestly, some of the recordings I've heard seem to be actually just recordings of people who took it over the air. I wonder how many of Paul Harvey's old recordings, the originals, were kept by ABC back in the day. We'll wait, but leave me a comment. Does Paul Harvey air where you live? I have a list of a few radio stations I've confirmed it for down in the show notes in our story. But just kind of a fun, interesting thing with that. Hey, real quick, diving into it before we get into it, the end of the day. If you are new here, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, hit that thumbs up. I know a lot of people will be gone. I will have videos all weekend, a special video for Friday. But a huge thank you to everybody for your support. It's been a very long year here, and I'm very thankful. Tens of thousands of new subscribers have followed us, and I'm very thankful for your support. We have a lot of things coming up. How do you enjoy the videos? I'd love to hear from you. I will continue to sprinkle in a few things I just find interesting with it, like the Paul Harvey story. Leave me a comment, let me know. And also thanks to everybody who sent me that tip after I talked about Paul Harvey last year, or last week I should say, where they say, hey, you should check it out. You can get it where you live. I appreciate that, because I really do enjoy that heading in the morning hearing Paul Harvey. Definitely brings me back to my childhood, my early 20s and teens and all that. when Paul Harvey was regularly on the air, and into my late 20s with that too. I really appreciate your support. We're going to have a lot of news here in the second half. It's hard to believe we're halfway through 2025. But I want to hear from you. What's your predictions? This will tell me who stayed to the end. What's your predictions for the world of cord cutting in the second half of 2020? We know that, for example, Comcast is going to spin off its cable networks into an independent company. ESPN is launching its own streaming service. That'll be a standalone. Fox is launching one for its cable networks. That'll be a standalone streaming service for them. Any big predictions you'll have? Leave me a comment. Let me know. Maybe you'll appear in a future video. Until then, take care, be safe. I'll talk to you all again tomorrow.